Hi everyone, it's Chelsea from Little Mountain Ranch, and today I wanted to talk to you about our water system here on the ranch. One of the things that was really important for us when we were looking for a homestead was to find a homestead that had an independent source of water of some kind. Our ranch has a spring and we have a gravity-fed system. What that means is that our water system is not reliant on power, and that is super important for us. That means that our system doesn't have any pumps at all and doesn't need any power outputs in order to operate. I'm going to take you up to the spring in a few minutes and I'll show you what I mean, but our spring sits up on the mountain, and all of the pipes that run the water down to our house and our barn and all of our irrigation are coming downhill, which means the force of gravity runs our system. We turn the pipe on this side, and because of the force of water running down the hill, we have water pressure. And we actually have really good water pressure down here, which is awesome. One of the things that's also awesome about this particular system is that the water is totally potable, meaning that it doesn't have any contamination in it and is totally safe to drink. Our spring system was set up in the late 60s, we think. They actually used to run the spring as a creek all the way through the property, which is something we'd like to do again in the future, and got their water with a bucket back in the early days. But in about the late 60s, they created the system as it stands now. So it's basically just a hole in the ground. It has a wooden box around it. Eventually we'd actually like to put a real concrete well up there, but because the silt does collect over the year, about once a year we need to get in there and clean out several feet of silt from the bottom of the well. And last year I actually went into the well and dug it all out by hand, which was the most disgusting job ever. If I have a couple of pictures of how I looked when I came out of that well, I'll link them up here for you so you can get a good laugh, because I was literally covered head to foot in mud. It was a terrible, gross job. This year we've purchased something that's called a construction trash pump. And basically what this is this is a pump that will pump out silt and mud and all kinds of gross stuff like that. And it's different from, say, a water pump, for instance, where if you tried to suck mud and stuff, you would end up ruining the pump. This pump is specifically designed for that. Dan actually just found a second-hand one. It's ugly as sin, but apparently it works really well. So we are going to be giving that a try for the first time today. And I cannot tell you how happy I am that I don't have to crawl into that well again. So we are going to head up to the well right now, and I'll show you kind of how the system works. It's really, really low tech, super simple. And then we'll see if this trash pump is actually going to work to get all the silt out of the well. This is my husband, Dan, for any of you who are new to my channel. And we are heading up in our, whoa, my camera's going crazy. We're heading up in our side-by-side, so you probably can't even hear me. So I'll turn the camera off until we get up to the spring. Okay, this is the cover, very high-tech, I know, cover that is over top of the well part. And so we'll take that off in a minute. This is what we're going to be pumping out. But over here, Cypress, are you getting cooled off down there? Okay, so over this way is where the spring is. So this is the spring here. Isn't that beautiful clear water? It runs down into this pipe, goes along here, and then into the well over here, and then all the piping to the ranch runs down this way, down the side of the mountain. One of the other things that we need to do for maintenance, and this is something we've already done this year, is to come in and actually make sure that the spring itself, this little creek that runs here, is cleaned out. You can see how shallow this is. It's only a couple of inches deep and it never freezes. I'll see if we can get up to where the actual spring comes out of the base of the mountain. Isn't this just the most beautiful place? I feel like I'm in a rainforest up here. Can you see how the creek runs right underneath the roots of these trees? So beautiful. And right here at the base of the mountain is where the water actually comes out. And then there's channels dug, and you can't see them because the grass is so high, but there's channels dug in all over here, and that go down to this main creek area here that runs to the well. And now I have to try to get back through here without sinking up to my knees in the mud, because the ground is super soft everywhere. Oh, I can hear, whoa! I can hear the pump going over there, so I want to get over there so I can show you guys how this works. And actually, I don't even know how it works. Dan was explaining it to me earlier, but I've never seen a trash pump in action before. What you doing, Maple? Hi, sweet girl. How are you? This is much nicer for you, isn't it?
Well, it's cool because it's overflowing the top.
This was honestly one of the things I was the most excited about when we found this ranch, because we'd been looking for something that had really good, clean drinking water that was not reliant upon power. So even though it leaves a little bit to be desired and needs some work, it's functional, and that's what matters. One of the disadvantages of buying things used, and we experience this time and time again, is that things break. When you buy things new, I mean, they break then too, but not quite as readily as they do when they're secondhand. And when you're buying really old pieces of machinery like this, when you're buying them secondhand, in all likelihood, they are going to need help. And this is where having good mechanic skills, or having a friend or a relative who is a mechanic and is able to help you to learn how to fix these kinds of things, is really beneficial. Dan is a mechanic by trade, which is why we are able to have some of the old machinery that we have, because he's able to fix it. So he is hopefully going to fix this up. There's two things wrong. One is the pull string broke on the first pull. The second is that it shut off. And all we're hoping is that it's not something more serious, that it's not seized or anything that's going to basically stop this project from happening. The reason that I wanted to show this part of this with you is because this is a real part of homesteading. Both the maintenance part of dealing with the spring itself and our water system, and also having to fix used machinery. Fingers crossed Dan can fix it. I've never seen mosquitoes like this before in my life. This is intense. I don't know. So the good news is Dan says it's not seized. So I don't know if I filmed this part or not, but the machine actually shut off. The pull start had already broken on the first pull, but it was running, like I showed you with the water coming out, and then it just stopped. And so we were a little concerned that it had seized, but Dan says it hasn't, although he thinks he might have to go and clean out the carburetor. And something else? I know nothing about mechanics. You'd think after 20, how many years have we been together, darling? Something like 26 or 27 years. Oh my gosh. Oh, anyway, you'd think after that many years that that I would have developed some mechanic skills. I can actually recognize sounds in engines for what might be wrong with it, but the actual fixing of it is just not something that I ever really learned how to do. Does it run? Coming out of there, that is all that silt that I had to dig out by hand last year. Woohoo! So what happens is the water comes in on the top, and because it's running through a creek, it collects silt, and the silt sits to the bottom, and then as it fills up, we have less water flow down at the house, and that's what's been happening. Loosen all the mud. Maybe we can find one. I just love it when things work, especially when it didn't seem like they were going to. So the next thing that we want to do the next thing that we want to do here is to actually put in a concrete well here. That is the plan for the next stage of getting this up to a standard that is not from the 1970s, I think, which is probably the last time anything was actually done on this. But it works really well, and we get really good water from it, which is really all you can ask for. And I'm very excited because I found that there is a huge patch of stinging nettle, and the reason I found that is because I put my hand in it and got stung by it. But that's cool because I am going to come up here and harvest a whole bunch of this and dry it for smoothies in the wintertime. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and we'll see you again in the next one. Bye!